I made the trip all the way down to Trinidad and Tobago's Atto Boldon Stadium. Why? Because this is where the U.S. men's national team lost 2-1 to get knocked out of the World Cup qualifiers for Russia 2018. Why is it that it's 2018 in the most athletic country in the world, statistically, we do win the Olympics pretty much every single time, whether it be from winning it from the most ridiculous sports to basketball to baseball even. I don't know if that's an Olympic sport, but we can't win in terms of the biggest sport in the world, soccer or football. I'm probably going to call it soccer for this video because it is revolving around the USA, but trust me, I'd call it football if I could. It just gets confusing because they call this hand-egg sport football here. It makes no sense. But really, why is the most athletic country in the world not even a top 32 team in the world at the biggest sport in the world? That just does not add up for me. Well, this is the field that it happened on. That right there, 2-1 against Trinidad and Tobago. And you can't blame Christian Pulisic. He carried us through Panama. You expect a 19-year-old to carry us through every single game? You can't blame our captains. You can't blame Clint Dempsey. He's given his heart, blood, and soul towards this national team throughout the last decade almost. You can't even blame Michael Bradley as much as I don't like him. You can't even blame Bruce Arena. You know who you can blame? Major League Soccer. Hear me out on this, guys. Think about where you guys live. You might live in the USA like me. About 53% of you guys, according to my demographics, are from the UK, so like England and Wales. And a lot of you guys are also from Germany, Netherlands, and even a few from Australia. Let's all take a thought about our surroundings, our opportunities, and our culture revolving around the beautiful game. So I'm going to try to compare my opportunities to the opportunities you guys have in England and show you guys where the problem is here in my country, USA. I'm going to show you guys where the problem lies. So in England, you guys have the Premier League, but you also have a Division 2. So the crappier teams in the Premier League, they get relegated. The best teams in the Division 2, in the EFL Championship, they get promoted into the Premier League. And obviously, you're going to make more money when you're in the Premier League. You're going to sell more tickets. You're going to get more fans. You're going to get more prize money when you're winning games. You have more talent. You win more trophies. Okay? That's how it works. The crappier your team is, the more you're going to get relegated, the less relevant your team is going to be, the less money you are ultimately going to make. Well, here in the USA, it's a little bit different. Major League Soccer is a closed league. That means that you can't get relegated and you can't get promoted into the league. Although there are Division 2 leagues, such as the USL and the NASL, the USL has a team called FC Cincinnati. That's my hometown team. They're in the USL. While they are a very good USL team. Now, we didn't win the USL. That was actually Louisville City this year. Louisville City won the USL, but they don't get promoted into the MLS. Neither does FC Cincinnati, who has proven to be a very good team after we beat Columbus Crew, an MLS team, after we beat Chicago Fire, a positive record MLS team. Then we went on to beat Miami FC, which is an NASL team. Now, that's another Division 2 team, but they beat another MLS team, Atlanta United, all in the Open Cup. And on top of that, Red Bulls, which is one of the better teams in the MLS, they were very positive. I think at the time that they played, they were like 11-4, 11 wins, 4 losses in the MLS for the Red Bulls. Well, FC Cincinnati was winning 2-0 in the 75th minute. Now, they fell apart. We lost 3-2 in extra time, but it did prove that we could compete with some of the best teams in our country, including the New York Red Bulls. But we have no chance of going to the MLS unless we have a little bit of this. So even though FC Cincinnati has proven to have the 4th best attendance in the United States for this sport, only behind Portland, Seattle, and Atlanta, only behind those 3 cities, where we have the best attendance on average, and we're a USL team, even though we're beating MLS teams and even competing with some of the best MLS teams, which means that we could compete for the title, for the championship, for the MLS Cup. We could compete for that, even though we've proven all that. We don't have enough money. Now, there is a strong possibility that FC Cincinnati will be able to get enough money to build a stadium, to join the MLS, to put forth enough money towards investing in their club to become an MLS team in the near future, especially given the fact that they're already giving FC Cincinnati a very big chance of being the last MLS team in this next expansion. But ultimately, that shouldn't be how you get into the MLS. It should be due to your talent, and it should be due down to only your talent. If you're winning the league, you should get promoted into the next one. If you're losing in the league, if you're the last place, if you're going 0-20 every single season, you should get relegated down to the next league. But since all these leagues are closed leagues, there's no really incentive to get better. Let's compare that to another closed league that's very common here in the USA, the NFL, which is hand egg, that's the American football. The Cleveland Browns, they are consistently a terrible team, and I'm sorry to any Cleveland Brown fans in this video if you guys are watching, but it's just a consistently terrible team. They even went 0-16 this year. They didn't win any games, but they don't really have any incentive to get better. I mean, they're still going to be making millions upon millions of dollars every year off jersey sales, off advertisements. It's not like the fans around Cleveland are going to root for a second division team. There are no second division teams. You have nobody else to root for. They're not going to get relegated because they're the only team there, and they're not going to disappear. They have no reason to get better. No reason. Unless maybe they want to get better and maybe get a couple more fans. That'll give us give them a little bit more jersey sales. I'm sure New England, given the fact that they're very good consistently, they're getting more fans, they're getting more jersey sales. But when it comes down to it, there's just not that much incentive to get better talent for your team. Do you know how different it would be if there was a promotion and relegation in American football? The Browns wouldn't be in the league anymore, or they would be working their ass off to become a much better team to stay in the league. So that's the exact same thing that's going to happen in MLS as well. You're going to see teams that are consistently just terrible. You're going to see teams that are consistently bad. They don't have any incentive to get better because they're just consistently making money. It's just going to be how it is. So you can see how that has a ripple down effect, and now you have FC Cincinnati, and they're trying to get into the MLS, which gives them an incentive to get better players and convince the MLS commissioners and all of them to put them in the MLS. But let's think about a lower tier team in the MLS. They're not going to try to win the league or anything. There's no incentive there. So they're not looking down to high schools and trying to get talent from there. There's never any scouts at high school games in the United States. The scouts go to the basketball high school games. They'll go to the football, the American football high school games to try to get scouts there so they can pick up the talent from there. But they're never at high school soccer games. The only way that you are going to be seen by a scout is if you join an academy. Well, that's a good option if you got a lot of money. 2 years of my life, my family could afford to put me in an academy. It was several $100 to join an academy where you actually got a competent coach that taught you things and actually made me a much better player throughout these 2 years that I played for NKSA, Northern Kentucky Soccer Academy. It's where I played. There was also another option. I could have played for Kings Hammer in Cincinnati, but ultimately I couldn't afford it most years of my life. But I was privileged enough to at least play for 2 years of my life. There were a lot of people that were privileged enough to play for several years of your life, and there's tons of great players that never got to play for an academy in their entire life. You can kind of see how it's pay to play in the USA. So you're not going to get noticed. You're not going to become big. You're not going to be a superstar unless you get signed by a college, a Division I college, and you play very well for them, and you become 22 years old, and then you get signed by a team probably in the MLS, similar to Jordan Morris, and by that time you're 22 or 23 years old. Now, Messi, Neymar, and all the greats in the world were already doing much bigger things by the time they were 22 and 23-year-olds. James Rodriguez, coming out of the slums of Colombia, becoming a national hero at the age of 19 years old. Similarly to Christian Pulisic, who is 19 years old now as well, and he's already considered the best United States player of all time. Does that not say something about our country? So let's wrap it back around. Why is this significant, and why is it the MLS's fault? Let's say they change their ways. They stop worrying about this so much, and they start worrying about talent, and they implement promotion and relegation. Now, the reason that they don't do this yet is because they might lose investors, and ultimately it's a financial risk for a couple of years. But evidence does show, research does show, that after a few years, it definitely would stabilize and grow exponentially. It would grow so much in the USA to where there would be teams, Division II teams, such as FC Cincinnati, with a possibility of getting promoted into the MLS, Louisville City getting promoted into the MLS, and you would see so much more people actually care about the MLS and actually care about this league. Because right now, I do not give a shit about the MLS. I love FC Cincinnati, and I will root for them to get into the MLS, and I will root for them in the MLS. But when it comes down to it, the MLS is a terrible league, and it's going to continue to be that until there is promotion and relegation implemented into the league. And once there's promotion and relegation implemented into that league, that means that there's a Division 2, that'll probably be the USL, and then a Division 3, that'll probably be the NASL, and then a Division 4, and a Division 5, similar to what you see in Europe. And when there's a Division 5, those Division 5 teams are showing up to the high school games, and they're looking for very good players, and players that are very good at a young age are starting to go into the academies for these USL, NASL, and MLS teams, and they're trying to become better players there, and the teams want them to become better players, because eventually they might be the player that helps them get promoted into the MLS. And that'll be making them a lot of money if they get promoted into the MLS. And it just starts a spiral and an effect all the way down the line. And ultimately, that's what's going to cause a lot more talent to be coming out of the USA. Because there's so many talented players that never are given a chance. There's so many talented players that want to look towards NBA and NFL, these athletes, because they're going to get paid a lot more there than they are on the MLS right now, because the MLS, again, 5th most popular league, 5th most popular sport in the USA. So that is going to be the solution to us losing 2-1 against Trinidad and Tobago for the first time, not making the World Cup in decades. So if they were to implement this, there'd be such a spiral effect, and it would be driven by talent instead of money at that point in the USA. That's the solution. That is the answer. I know it wasn't a funny video today. I know it wasn't that, jolly and what it normally is, what you guys normally see from me. But it's been months. It's been months since the USA actually lost to Trinidad and Tobago. And it's going to be months before the World Cup begins in Russia, and I'm still livid, and I'm still angry, and I know the problem, and I know that it's a risk for the MLS to take, but it's a risk that needs to be taken unless we want to continue this mediocrity. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys want to see more videos like this, more like a rant video, go ahead and drop a like on the video, and also subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. I'm actually getting heated. I'm actually getting angry over all of this, and I'm just talking to a camera, and I'm actually angry. So I think we're going to end it there. I'll see you guys in the next video. This wasn't supposed to be the video that came out today. I was planning on having a different video. This video was supposed to come out later in the week, but I wasn't able to record that video yet because it's super cold and they wouldn't let me film in the mall, and yeah, I'll get into that in the next video. But just be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a very, very good video. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.